Namaste nerds, this is Navinad, Budget Pub Stomper, and today is going to be something that unfortunately is a little bit new, in that I'm not doing the latest, kind of newest hotness. Most of the time I try to find commanders that I think are going to get a good, that people want to see, that people are interested in. And maybe kind of unfortunately, what that really means is that I'm looking for the new hotness. And the new hotness isn't always the best thing, but I want to give the people what the people want. Well, this commander, like occasionally I want to give something to the kind of true believers, the people that watch all of the videos, that are truly interested in what commanders are the best on a $100 budget, the best like budget competitive builds. And so this is one that I've had in the holster for a long time. This is one that I've been a true believer in Kalamax for forever. This thing will win games. You'll be able to enter Kalamax. I'm confident in Kalamax. I know that this thing is legit. So let's talk about first the commander, what it does. Kalamax is a teamer commander. So it's 1 and teamer is the mana cost. It's 4. So green, blue, red, and 1 for a 4/4. But it's only a 4/4 for a minute. The text says whenever you cast your first instant spell each turn, not just each of your turns, if Kalamax the Stormsire is tapped, copy that spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. And whenever you copy an instant spell, put a +1/+1 counter on Kalamax. We're going to use all of that. We're using all of it. We're going to use his girth. We're going to use his counters. We're going to use his copying. So he's a value engine. He's a combo piece. He's everything that we look for in a commander. And the 4 mana cost is not that big of a deal when you're in exactly teamer. Teamer allows you to build a really good mana land base. And it gives you access to rituals and dorks and mana fixing and rocks, and you have land ramp if you want it. I don't know that I used any land ramp, but we've got birds, we've got Wild Cantor, we've got Simian Spirit Guide, Tenderwall, we've got your Rite of Flame, we've got dorks, and we've got rituals, and we've got rocks, and we've got Utopia Sprawl you could add. Utopia Sprawl I think is more important than Wild Growth in this deck in specific, because you need to hit exactly 3 colors by the time you've got access to 4 mana. Okay, so he's a beat stick, he's a combo piece, he's a value engine. He checks all the boxes. He's in teamer, which if you have to be in a 3-color combo at $100, I think teamer's where you want to be. So let's talk about the main combo lines, and I don't even know what the main combo lines would be. There's lots of combo lines. The thing goes infinite just if you look at it wrong. Okay, your best win line for Kalamax is going to be tap his ass down with something and cast a Chord of Calling. You get Chord of Calling, X equals 5, and you're going to put a win on the stack. So Kalamax, and there are ways in the deck to tap Kalamax, but one of the better ways to tap Kalamax is to turn the bitch sideways and just start murking people with your 4/4 or your 5/5 or your 6/6, however big he is. And once he's turned sideways, then you can cast your spell, your instant spell, and it'll make a copy of it. So the Chord of Calling combo goes like this. Let's say we want to do this pre-combat. We're going to try to win on the spot. So we've gone turn 1 Birds of Paradise, into turn 2 Simian Spirit Guide, tap your lands, cast your Kalamax. Turn 3, maybe you've got a Moon Snare prototype, or a Springleaf Drum, or the creature version, Jaspera Sentinel. You've got a way to tap your Kalamax down for value. Okay, so we've got our Jasper. Doesn't really matter what. We tap Kalamax pre-combat, and we cast our Chord of Calling with the Kalamax tapped. Chord of Calling says green, 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 X, convoke, so your creatures can tap to cast this spell. Search your library for a creature card with converted mana cost X or less, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library. So if we do this with Kalamax tap down, we get 2 Court of Callings. This should remind you of Storm, the Marvel superhero Storm. So we're going to tap the Kalamax by whatever means, say Jesper Sentinel. We're going to do Court of Calling X equals 5. The copy and the Court of Calling are going to find Kiki-Jiki and a Kiki Bottom. And the Kiki Bottom can be Hyrax, Tower Scout, or Pestermite in this deck. So Pestermite also has a little extra utility because you can flash it in and stop somebody from attacking, or you can, well, realistically, you can flash it in and use it to tap down your Kalamax. Either Pestermite or Hyrax, Tower Scout with Kiki-Jiki wins the game on the spot. And you can do this pre-combat, main phase 1 with your Kalamax tap down, and win because you bring Kiki-Jiki into play, you bring your Pestermite into play, and you have the you tap Kiki-Jiki to make a copy of the Pestermite. That Pestermite copy enters the battlefield, and when it does, it untaps the Kiki-Jiki. Now that Kiki-Jiki is untapped, you can tap it to make a copy of your Pestermite. That copy of Pestermite ETBs, and it untaps the Kiki-Jiki. And we do that over and over, ad infinitum, and we murder the table with a bunch of pestery mites or Hyrax Tower Scouts. Now you can get to this combo other ways. It doesn't have to be just with Cord. We got a new one I added today. So I did an update on the deck list, and we were at like $92, and I'm like, sweet, we have a little bit of wiggle room. What I did add was Archdruid's Charm, which is another way to get to our Kiki combo. Now normally it really isn't. You need the A, and then you can copy, or you can tutor for the B. But the nice thing about Archdruid's Charm in this deck specifically is this is an instant, and Kalamax copies instants. So if you've got your Kalamax tapped, either with one of your spring, say your Jasper Sentinel or whatever, you've got it tapped, and you cast your Archdruid's Charm, it's going to make a copy of the Archdruid's Charm. So you get both your Kiki-Jiki and your Hyrax Tower Scout. You can tutor for both things, put them both in your hand. And if you do that on end step, for instance, then you can untap and just win with that combo. Or if you have enough mana, you can do it on your main phase. You can actually just use your Springleaf Drum to tap your Kalamax down before combat. Cast your Archdruid's Charm. It'll get copied if it's the first instant that you've cast that turn. Then you get to tutor for 2 creatures. You tutor for Kiki-Jiki and Pestermite. And then you do that same Kiki combo that way. So that's probably you're going to be winning the game most of the time with either Kiki-Jiki or the following. The following is you're going to make your Kalamax really big. So how do we do that? Well, there's lots of ways to do it, but the easiest way to do it, you have kind of 1-card combos in the deck. Now, they're not 1-card end the game combos exactly, but they're 1-card make Kalamax infinitely big combos. And then there's other stuff you can do. Let's get into the, I'll give you an example. So let's say somebody casts a lightning bolt, and you have a Reverberate in your hand. Your Kalamax is tapped. Then you cast Reverberate, copying your opponent's lightning bolt. So now this is the first instant that you have cast, and this instant says copy target instant or sorcery spell. In this case, it'll be the lightning bolt. You may choose new targets for the copy. We're not too worried about that. What we're going to do is we're going to copy the instant with Reverberate, whatever it is, lightning bolt in this example. Then our Kalamax is going to trigger, and it's going to make a copy of the first instant that we cast, which was Reverberate. So the Reverberate copy is going to copy the Reverberate, and that is going to copy the Reverberate, which is going to copy Reverberate, and that's going to copy Reverberate. So it's kind of like the same thing as your Kiki-Jiki combo, but instead of doing a Kiki-Jiki combo and make infinite Hyrax Tower Scouts, you're going to do a either a twin cast or reverberate, or we can also use the expansion side of expansion explosion. Actually, both halves of this card are pretty good in this deck. So you've got some copy spells. Any of your fork effects are going to make your Kalamax infinitely large as long as you can copy something with it, and it has to be the first instant spell that you've cast this turn. So notably, that means that you can't activate this yourself by casting a runaway together on your turn and then reverberating it. That won't work. So even though we want to play almost exclusively instants in this deck, because Kalamax copies instants but not sorceries, it's important that we do have some sorcery spells, and some that we're going to want to cast. Well, let me just show you what I ended up on. Solve the Equation is one that you don't mind copying with your Reverberate anyway. Rite of Flame, Regrowth, Ponder. These are the ones. Chandra's Ignition, we're going to put that to the side for a moment because that's a special case. But on our turn, we can cast a Ponder. And with our Kalamax tap down, we cast our Ponder. That doesn't get copied because it's not an instant. And then we cast a Twin Cast, which is the same thing as Reverberate or Fork. And we copy what did I say, Ponder? Yeah, we copy the Ponder. And then we have Kalamax's copy effect, copy the copy spell. And so we're in that same infinite thing where, like we just did with Reverberate. So Kalamax is tapped down. We go Ponder, and then we go Twin Cast, and we copy. Just kind of automatically, Kalamax is going to copy the Twin Cast, and so that copy of Twin Cast is going to copy the Twin Cast, and that copy is going to copy the Twin Cast. And so when you do these infinite copies, if it's not clear, if I wasn't clear about this, the bottom line of text on Kalamax says, whenever you copy an instant spell, put a +1/+1 counter on Kalamax. So it doesn't say whenever Kalamax copies an instant. It just says whenever you copy an instant. So even though it's the Twin Cast or the Reverberate or the Expansion Explosion that's doing the copying, you're copying things. And when you copy things, Kalamax grows. And so any of these forks become basically a one-card combo, not a one-card win con, but a one-card combo that will make Kalamax a 9 trillion pissed off dinosaur. So if we have him tapped down, though, and then we make him big, like how much good does that do us, right? Because now we have to wait until our next turn to untap with this big-ass dino. That is permanent, by the way. This is +1/+1 counters. It's not +1/+1 until end of turn. This isn't prowess. This is get your dino jacked. Okay, so dino gets jacked, but he's tapped. So now we have a dino that's jacked, but he's tapped. And that's kind of jacked or whack. So what are we going to do? We're going to cast a Chandra's Ignition. So Chandra's Ignition is just not a bad card in the deck. We're not playing a ton of really super important creatures. We've got some, but having Chandra's Ignition and Kalamax is just going to get big. He starts off pretty big. I mean, a 4/4 is a pretty thick boy in competitive and anything, even casual or even budget competitive. A 4/4 is not to be trifled with, right? But if we've copied a few spells and this guy's an 8/8, then we cast Chandra's Ignition, we dome everybody for 8 damage, and we burn off the board. It's not going to be a one-sided board wipe, which I don't like that phrasing anyway, because I should say it's not going to be exactly a 3-sided board wipe, because it is going to kill all your shit too, except it's not going to kill Kalamax. Chandra's Ignition says target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to each other creature and each other opponent. Or each opponent. So if he's a 6/6, it deals 6 damage to each opponent and each creature in play. Well, if you just did the Ponder and you made infinite reverberates, and you made your Kalamax into a 9 trillion dino, then you cast your Chandra's Ignition, you have murdered everybody. What are some other combo lines? So those are probably the main two. So you've got your make your dino enormous and beat people to death with it. You've got your make your dino enormous and Chandra's Ignition people to death with it. You've got your copy a Court of Calling. And honestly, most of the time you're going to do these combos when it's not your turn. Like you are going to generally, you're going to generally have your Kalamax tapped because you hit somebody for 19. And somebody's going to cast a Swords to Plowshare. They were going to Swords to Plowshare somebody else's shit. And you, with your tapped Kalamax, that's only, say, a 7/7, hop in with a Reverberate, which would be the first instant you have cast. It's going to target somebody else's instant, their Swords to Plowshare. And that's going to make your Kalamax a 1 billion chonker. And then you're going to go to your turn. You're going to untap, and you're going to probably murder somebody. So yeah, those are the main one lines. The main one lines are Kiki-Jiki, so your Kiki lines, your infinitely big pissed off dino lines, and your infinitely big pissed off dino plus Chandra's Ignition lines. Those are the main things. I want to talk a little bit more about Archdruid's Charm. I don't think I gave this enough attention. So Archdruid's Charm is not just a tutor. You can use this to do frickin' anything. You can make a copy of it and you can blow it. So it says choose one. Green, which isn't as hard as it sounds, even in budget. Search your library for a creature or a land card. Reveal it, put it onto the battlefield, tapped if it's a land, otherwise in your hand. So if it's a creature, it goes to your hand. If it's a land, it goes into play tapped, which means with Kalamax, you can use this to ramp yourself 2 lands, and you can pick the exact lands that you want in play. Or you have the mode underneath that, put a +1 counter on target creature you control. It deals damage equal to its power to target creature you don't control. Like I've said before, Kalamax gets big. And like if he's already a 6/6 and we have the opportunity to beef him even further by copying a Archdruid's Charm, maybe we make him an 8/8 and whack the 2 biggest things in play, or the 2 most important things in play. That's pretty good. Or exile target artifact or enchantment. So you can do any 2 of any of these things. And so that they've got it templated as if it's a modal spell that has 3 modes. This does not have 3 modes. This has like infinite modes. It's got search your library for a creature to hand, that's 1. Land into the battlefield tapped, that's mode 2. Put a +1 counter on a creature you control, and it deals its damage, its power to target creature you don't control as a removal spell, that's 3. And it buffs your dude a bit. And then 4 is exile, not destroy. Looking at you, wondering. Exile target artifact, that's 4. Or exile target enchantment, that's 5 modes. And having your choice between 5 different things. The card's busted, guys. Play this card. And buy it before it gets more expensive. I can't believe this is still only $5. Well, I bought them when they were less than that. So let's talk about some of the other absurdities. We already kind of talked about Nexus of Fate. So if we just have a tapped Kalamax and we go to our turn with we go to the next turn with a handful of this stuff, God, we're just in such a good situation. For example, we can, with our tapped Kalamax, we, on our turn, maybe we cast a crop rotation. We sacrifice 1 land. We don't have to copy the cost of the spell. That's important. So sacrificing a land is part of the cost. We don't do that. We do that once. We don't do that for the copy. So the copy gives us another land, but doesn't cost us a land. So crop rotation is, in this deck with a tapped Kalamax, it's 1 green mana. You'll sacrifice probably the land that you tapped for the green mana, and you will search your library for any 2 land cards and put them into play untapped. And we don't have a tremendous amount of utility lands, but we do have some. I mean, we can fix our mana perfectly that way. Or if we want a waterlogged grove to get a draw, or if we need a way to consistently tap our Kalamax, we can get the holdout settlement. Fiery Islet we can use to crack and draw a card. So there's a lot of extra utility having crop rotation specifically in a Kalamax deck, especially if it were full powered and you were playing the suite of like really good utility lands like Cradle and such. Talon Gates, you know. Or Harrow, kind of the same thing. We're on our turn, we cast Harrow, we sacrifice one land, we search for 4 basic land cards, and we put them all into play untapped. So this Kalamax ability kind of breaks cards that have big effects, where that big effect is balanced by having some sort of an additional cost, right? Like Harrow, crop rotation, Thrill of Possibility. So on our turn, we tap our Kalamax, hit somebody for 9. We cast Thrill of Possibility. We discard 1 card. We draw 4 cards. Then we go to the next player's turn, and they do whatever they do. Maybe cast their commander. We have them cast their, I don't know, big ass Corvold, and somebody else is sitting over there with a Selvala, and that Selvala kind of shit-eating grin, that Selvala smile, the one that you just know that they've got win in hand, and you cast a Runaway together, which ordinarily is just pretty good. I play it in a lot of decks, especially on a budget. Ordinarily, this is like, okay, there you go, bounce your Corvold you just played, and bounce that Selvala. But with a tapped Kalamax, this is like it's almost like it's like a Psych Rift, right? I mean, not always exactly like a Psych Rift, but bouncing 4 things is pretty damn good. So we make a copy of it, so we get to bounce 4 creatures to hand. Then we go to the next player's turn. We cast Lightning Bolt. Well, where are we getting all this mana? Good question. I'm glad you asked. Well, maybe instead of Lightning Bolt, we cast Manamorphose. This is another one that's kind of busted with Kalamax. So you pay 2 mana. You actually end up adding 4 mana of any colors the way you want them, and draw 2 cards. Frantic Search, same kind of thing. You're going to draw 2 cards, discard 2 cards, untap 3 lands. Then you draw 2 cards, discard 2 cards, untap 3 lands again. So with Kalamax tapped, this is a ritual. It doesn't just go mana neutral, it goes pretty damn mana positive. So you can use this as a pretty big ritual. But the really nasty shit, how are we doing on time here? I know I've been just kind of gloating about Kalam. Not bad, not bad. The really nasty shit is not just going to be when you cast a negate that somebody can't beat you in the counter war because now they've got to counter 2 copies of your negate. It's not just that. It's not just the 1 mana Nature's Claim that blows up 2 things, or you bounce like the board. It's not just tutoring 4 creatures with your 5 mana shared summons. It's not that. What the big shit is when you have like a 9/9 Kalamax and you swing it at somebody and they don't block, and you cast Hunter's Insight. You choose the target creature Kalamax. What did I say? He's a 9/9. Now you're gonna make a copy of a spell, so he'll go to a 10/10 in between the 2 Hunter's Insights. This says whenever that creature deals combat damage to a player or planeswalker this turn, draw that many cards. So we just, for 3 mana, drew, 19 cards? 18, 17 cards. A ton of cards. So Hunter's Insight is ridiculous. Now, you might want to be a little careful with it. Have some interaction up. You don't want to get blown out, and that's definitely going to be a situation where the table is going to be aching to blow you out. They almost have to. It's like if they don't blow you out, you just got like a green ad nauseum. So maybe you hold up your Bolt Bend. Yeah, you get to play the cool shit. You get to play Bolt Bend because your creature is your commander has power 4 or greater, and literally your commander does have exactly power 4 or greater. So for 1 mana, you can Bolt Bend their Swords to Plowshare that they pointed at your innocent Kalamax, your innocent, what is he? Dino. Now, you know what does a pretty good impression of Hunter's Insight is Return of the Wild Speaker. This you don't even have to get through for combat damage. You don't have to hit somebody. You can just cast it for 5 mana with a tap, and this can be on somebody else's turn even. So you can have your tapped Kalamax, or you can tap your Kalamax, and then you can draw cards equal to the greatest power amongst non-human, for instance, dinosaur, creatures you control. So if you have a 7/7 Kalamax, Return of the Wild Speaker draws 7 cards, then you make a copy, and then he draws 8 cards. So you draw 15 cards. Rules lawyers check me on that. I think that's how that works. Well, that's how I always play it, so I hope that's how it works. So yeah, like even just a medium situation where you've copied a couple of spells already, and you cast your Return of the Wild Speaker, and you draw like a monster grip. You're winning that game. You know, like you're basically, it's yours. The ball is in your court, and it is your game to lose at that point. I mean, even just a thrill of possibility, it's pretty damn good when you get 2 of them. But Return of the Wild Speaker, like drawing 14, 15, 16, 17 cards at instant speed, crazy. You can also use this for its +3/+3. I've never done it, but I could see it coming up. Maybe you've got, one opponent left because you, well, obviously you don't have to tell me when it's good to have an overrun, but you can do a double overrun. So for 5 mana and a tapped Kalamax, you can give your entire team +6/+6, which very well might be enough to just end the game, especially if you have something like a Nexus of Fate. And then we've got just a bunch of little value things, right? Like Opt is pretty good when you double it up. I don't know if I put the other where's the other one? I don't see well, I don't know if any of you have ever tried to do this, but sometimes you just go blind when you're trying to it's not as easy as you'd think to just look at the damn screen and see the card you're looking for when you're under all this damn pressure. You've got the studio lights, the director. I don't have any of that. Snap, that's a really cool. So there's like, I feel like we've done some good. Do I have a rat in my pocket? I might. I feel like I've done some good deck brewing here. I've used cards that have like layered combo potential, but a lot of synergy with the commander, and are just high card quality to begin with. I mean, obviously, Thrill of Possibility is not like a CDH staple, but it's not that bad. And Snap is straight up playable, but it's more playable when it reads return target 2 creatures, or return 2 target creatures, and untap 4 lands. So here you tap 2 mana, you untap 4 mana. You bounce 2 things, and you get a ritual out of it. Or the delve stuff too. So you've got, obviously you're going to have a lot of stuff in your graveyard. You've got plenty of counter spells. You've got your frantic searches, your Harrows. I mean, this deck loads up its graveyard. Should be pretty obvious to see. It loads up its graveyard easily, even without fetch lands. So when we dig through time, since it's an instant, and we don't have to pay the cost twice, we just get the effect twice, we can pay 2 blue mana and delve away 6 cards, and we'll get to copy this effect. So we'll get to look at the top 7 cards of your library, pick 2 of them, put the rest on the bottom, and then you do that again. So you're going to look at the top 7, pick 2, look at the next top 7, pick 2. So you're going to dig 14 cards deep and come back with the 4 cards that you wanted out of the 14. Like, I dare you to lose after that. If you do, you probably are doing it wrong. You picked the wrong cards. We get to play Stubborn Denial too. I really like these cards. I think it's really sweet when we get to play them. I don't think it's, I mean, even if you don't have your commander in play, do we have anything else that's 4 power? I think we do not. Unfortunate. But, even if you don't, it's still like a force spike kind of. Counter target non-creature spell unless its controller pays 1. If your commander's out, it's just 1 mana, negate. We don't have that card. They didn't print that card. There's no such thing as that card. The closest thing is like an offer you can't refuse. But this isn't giving anybody any treasures. We're just getting a 1-mana negate. The most efficient way to run the deck is if you can cast 1 instant on each turn, your turn and each one of your opponent's turns. Then you're getting kind of max efficiency. That's the deck, guys. It's sick. It slaps. It does busted things all the time, and it will win you games of Magic the Gathering. I guarantee it. In fact, I personally guarantee you that if you build this deck, you will win 9 out of 10 of the first games you play, no matter who you play them against, no matter how. You could go, I guarantee you, I'm going to make you a guarantee. You can take this to your next tournament. If they've got a time twister, first place, I'm guaranteeing you, I'll put this in writing, you are going to win that time twister. With this deck, even in a budgetless tournament. If I'm wrong, I'm going to give you not just a money, this isn't just a money back guarantee. I'm really going to put it where, I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. I'm going to give you a double your money back guarantee. Until next time, nerds, word to your mothers, word to your dino cousins, word to your drifts of phantasms. God, I should have gone into tutors and tutor targets. Tutor the things that work the best for the situation you're in. Easy, right? Easy. Duh. You should have known that. I shouldn't have had to tell you. Look at this land base, by the way. I was very impressed with this. We do have to, I mean, when you're playing a 3-color deck, man, you've got to put some money into the mana base. But $9.27 is not that bad. And it's fully functional. May all your outs be live and your women be liver, or your men, whatever you're into. I'm not here to judge you. I'm here to teach you how to beat up on helpless people that think they can play Magic against you when you are from the school of the budget pub stompers. Word to your mothers, east side until the day that I die, and namaste, you scurvy bitches. Peace.